it's Kasha Gage. Welcome back. Thanks for being here. I hope your December is off to a great start. I can't believe how fast the days are going. Today I'm going to be working on story 8, but before I dive in, I'm just gonna flip back through, show you a little bit of where I am at so far in this album. And I do have process videos so far for every day. So if you want to see them, I'll make sure to link that for you guys up above, and there's a playlist where you guys can go and check them out. Opening my album with a transparency and To All a Good Night and a full page photo of the three of us on the bed. I love opening my albums with a full page photo. That's something I personally enjoy doing. I feel like it helps me set the tone, or it's just a little bit of us and just a precursor for what the album will be. On the backside, another full page photo. This is of the three of us and adding some journaling about who we are, what's going on with our life, where we're at, and my reasons why. Story 1 is letters. Our letters that Ben and I wrote to one another. So using, pulling in a photo, using some of the pattern paper on the backside, and then handwriting our letters. I love bringing in his voice, or any other voice for that matter, and it's great to have that touch of the handwritten in here as well. Story 2 is talking about the tree, being around the tree, how early we pulled it up and set it up, and then also doing all the decorating, setting it all up. The tradition of the tool underneath the tree had Henry's help here. Another full page photo. If you guys have been around for a while, if you've seen my past albums or have heard me explain in some of the other videos, I love full page photos. I love albums full of photos, but I also love having the stories to look back through, to read that pair with those photos. That's something, I know I've probably mentioned this also somewhere, is that when I look back through photos of us as a kid or my grandparents' photos, I can infer, right? I can gather and look to the photos for the clues and some of the details, but it would be great if there was a story that went with those. So that's some of the things of what I think about. Doing a long journaling here. This is talking about the tradition of Christmas pajamas, pairing that with one of those large felt number 3s that was from last year. Another full page photo. This is part of the real tree. Doing a little shaker pocket and additional photos with this. I will be replacing this paper. That specialty vellum I ordered came in just today, so I will be swapping that out. I'll say, even looking back at this, I feel like it's just a pinch incomplete. Like maybe I need to stitch gold around this photo, or add a little gold embellishment or something. Like it needs a little something extra. Here I feel like is maybe a little bit more okay, but still I don't know, I feel like it needs a little something. So once I pull those off and swap out the paper, we'll see what I end up doing to those. Story 5, using some pattern papers and the nested chipboard circles, some DMC floss as well, and having that star dangling. I like that when you flip this over, that 5 goes on that photo. It just kind of worked out that way. Using the digital version from the Numbers scrapbook kit for Let Me Count the Ways, adding a custom title here that I cut out on my silhouette, Reasons Why I Love December. Another photo, this is of the winter scene in Connecticut. Story 6, Remember This, and pairing, a photo and additional journaling with a full page of stamped journaling. So, this is a great opportunity to also look at your products for story sparks, like the word remember. I could have just left it with this stamped journaling, but also remember, it made me think about Christmases as a past and Christmases as a kid. We're talking about some of that. Story 7, I did yesterday here, doing a collage of photos from us landing on this photo, or me trying to capture this photo you see here. And then including our Christmas card, a couple of half circles. I used the digital for this and minked them. I'm really loving playing with my mink this year. That is new to me, and I'm having fun foiling all of the things. So Before I even dive in on story 8, I'm going to take you guys over to my computer. I'm going to show you my second step for my part 2 of my Lightroom workflow, which is culling my photos, and I do explain that, and also how I will edit these flat lay photos of this specific layout. All right, so here I am in Lightroom over on my desktop, and you can see I have several photos. I've already done the process of importing, which I did share with you guys in a previous video. What I'm going to do next is the process of culling, and what that is, simply put, is you pick which ones you want to keep and you get rid of the rest. One of the ways I prefer to do this is in Lightroom, depending upon the size of my catalog depending upon the amount of photos that I need to cull through. If it's a session or something, I might use Photo Mechanic, which is another program that you can use for culling. I'm just going to hit my space key, zoom in. I'm not worried about things on this white poster board or those shadows or maybe tweaking the white balance. You can see here in my camera settings, 39 millimeters is a focal length. I was using my 24 to 70 zoom lens, my ISO at 1250. All right, so part of how I do this, and I have a tendency to go really fast when I do this, and when I can't make a decision, you'll see how I end up doing this. So when I first click on the photo, it brings it up for full screen, and then I zoom in a few times, and that's just hitting the Command plus key. I find I always want to get in and see on the details. This one's pretty crisp. I'll come back to it. This one, you can tell, I think my aperture is still the same, but my focus got off. So you can see it's a little bit soft. X sets it as rejected, so I can delete it in a little bit. Okay, so same thing here. You see this part right here, December Days to Remember, is really in focus, but the rest of this circle is out. So I'm gonna, again, get rid of that one. This one, everything is in focus here. So we'll keep moving on. This one, again, everything's in focus, but because of the way I was standing, so if you have anything that's shiny, even like the transparency or the washi tape, anything that's reflective as well, depending upon if you're standing over it or how your camera is, it can end up creating these additional shadows. So I will leave it for the moment, but I think I got a better, there you go, see a better shot. Now the problem with this one, when I zoom out, it looks pretty in focus, but when I zoom in, you can see just the little bit of camera shake right there. This is me I am obviously a little bit more particular. It's just, that's part of my process, but this would be completely fine just to post on, social media, or if it was your blog. Okay, again, moving on. Okay, this one's fine. That's in focus. That one's in focus as well. This one is a little bit more crisp. See where I can tell that making. I don't know what is going on here. Okay. And this one got a little soft right there. Obviously, that can happen when you're doing this, handheld. I think I might have been in continuous rather than single focus as well. So what I'm going to do next, delete all the rejected photos. All right, so I'm going to edit this first photo here. Again, already done the full culling process, and now it's just the editing. I'm going to double click to open this or expand it, and then pressing D takes me into the develop module. You can also just click on the develop module there. Now, I'm not going to worry about some of these spots. I'm going to clean those up in Photoshop. Just already knowing that, I feel like the spot healing and any additional dodging and burning is far faster and easier in Photoshop. So a couple of things. First, looking at this, I can tell my white balance is just a hint off. I took this photo a little bit later in the day, so the sun starts to create a little bit of a cast when it's coming in. I mean, it's really, really close. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here. When I click on this temp in the number box, I can just use my arrow key to go up. Can always do it to go down. That looks Let me zoom back out. That looks about right to me. That looks about right. Okay, so a couple of things. I don't normally mess with any of these sliders when it comes to flat lay. Part of that is because when I go to take these photos, I am spot metering and I am purposely overexposing, usually by half a stop to 1 stop in camera. So my exposure is almost there already. I find that just working with the tone curve and then again, dodging in Photoshop makes the process faster for me. So I'm going to just bring my tone curve up just a little bit here. And I'm going to bring, oops, not that much. I'm just going to drag where it's over on the left side. I'm just going to drag that in a little bit to darken my darks here. Okay. So I will enable my profile for my lens. And then I'm going to bring this into Photoshop. Okay, so my photo is open now in Photoshop, and I can see a couple of things I want to tackle. First thing though, I always do, no matter what, I duplicate my layer rather than making any changes on this photo because it's far easier if you want to go back and do something. So Command J to duplicate, and you can see it's the same exact photo just pasted on top. So I'm going to grab my spot healing tool brush, and the bracket keys increases the size. You can also click for this brush, the drop down, and change your size and the hardness up there. So I'm just going to drag in a few spots. You can tell I clearly need to use or get another white foam board here. That's what I just shoot it on, as a white foam board. That's close enough. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I can tell my screen is also really dirty, so sometimes it happens where I'm like over clicking. I can't always tell. Okay, I'll just do a little bit there. That's fine. It'll be fine. Well, actually, let me go in here. If you want to get super nitpicky, I'll show you guys this so we can go in and clean this up a little bit. I'm just pressing my mouse, just clicking down. I don't normally, for flat lays, I don't go this detailed of doing spot healing, but I'm just showing you guys a little bit of it. So, okay. Doing the command minus sign command that zooms back out. I'm going to go ahead and decide on my crop. So I already have this set 16:9, which is a size for a YouTube header. And I'm just dragging my mouse to the right. Okay, I'm going to drag that a little bit more out. That looks good for me. Normally when I do a crop, I do not have the delete crop pixels on, because then if I want to go in and adjust my crop on the photo, I can do so. Again, that's a personal preference. So I'm just, my crop is still selected. Click on it once. I can move this up and down. And I think that's good. Okay, I'm going to go over into the adjustments panel. Again, this doesn't happen for all the photos, but because of the color, so you guys are seeing a little bit more advanced. I'm going to click on the hue saturation, and then we'll end up dropping it. So there you see it's my yellows. I can tell that there's a little bit of a cast on it. I am going to just drag my saturation down quite a bit and increase my lightness. And you can see how that's affecting all this stuff over here. So I'm going to hit Command I to invert, and then B for my brush tool. White reveals, black conceals. That's the quickest way I can tell you guys that. So I'm just going to hold down my mouse key, drag my brush back and forth along this right side. And I'll even do this up here on top. So you can see I can be pretty fast once I start doing those, but it's just a matter of, I think there might be a spot there too. Grabbing over that spot healing brush again. Oops, I'm on the wrong one. Okay. So next, what I want to do is just dodge and burn. So on top of this hue saturation layer, I'm going to hit Command, Option, Shift, E. That stamps my layer. So because you can't do your dodging and burning on the hue saturation, that's an adjustment layer, we need to do it on, on the actual background, on the actual photo. I could come down here on this, my first duplicated layer, but I prefer to stamp it and then keep going in order. So I'm going to grab over my dodge tool, and I have my midtone selected. I normally, when I dodge and burn, it's usually only the midtones that I work with. Just even though some of this is in the shadow, there's just a little bit of gray. And again, over here is the highlights, but the midtones always seems to work best for me. Holding down my mouse key, I'm just gonna run my brush back and forth just to lift this up a little bit. And then same thing over here. Just go a little bit back and forth. I mean, shadows are some of what makes it natural. Okay. Zoom out. There you can see. Does that look like the crop was off a little bit? Okay. So I'm going to uncheck all of these layers, and then you can see what we were starting with. So here's the first layer. Duplicated that. So again, it's the same thing. We took care of the spot healing on this specific layer. Then we adjusted that hue saturation. You guys might not be able to notice it. You can tell, especially up here. Let me click that off and click that back on. So it takes out just a little bit of that yellow color cast that was coming in. And then now here is the dodging and burning. So I just, this photo shifted here. Hang on. I'm not sure what happened. Oh, maybe I shifted the hue saturation layer. Okay, there we go. Like something was off. But here is where just that little bit of dodging for the shadows, increasing those whites. And that is how I edit my flat lays in Lightroom and then also in Photoshop. If you guys have any questions, be sure to let me know in the comments below. I hope that is helpful to you guys. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know. And as I've said in previous days videos, I will be editing a photo of a black and white one and a color that will probably be more advanced that also goes into Photoshop. So diving in here to story 8, I already have a few things set up. So this page is going to come together super quick. If you guys saw my starting place video, again, I'll link that for you guys up above. I had pulled supplies and just tucked them into a page protector. So I had these nested chipboard circles. I had a different journal card and I think a vellum strip and some pattern paper. I pulled over the specific supplies Allie had shown in, I believe it was this year's product play, of using these nested chipboard circles, because I didn't know. Part of why I tucked them in was I knew I wanted to use them. And I thought, well, maybe I will do the page exactly like Allie. And then that way, all my supplies are in the same. Her and I did have a similar idea as far as trying to incorporate or use these circles to create an 8. So this is the direction though I ended up doing. I set this up beforehand or after the filming my starting place. So I have here couple of the nested chipboard circles. This is on a piece of transparency. And then I took one of the 3x8 journal cards that said December days to remember and added some of the gold washi tape that was included, part of this year's main kit, and a bunch of word phrase stickers those were in my stash. They're old. If I remember right, it was, well, let me look. I'll even tell you guys. Me and my big ideas, these Mombi sticks. This is several years old. 2016 is what it says. So I have just a bunch of that. That might actually, I take that back. These were from, hang on, if you guys really want to know, this was part of, I believe, the Mombi sticks. But I know these ones here were also from me and my big ideas. I just not sure the year. If I could find them, I'll link them for you guys below. I'm not sure if those are still available. So that's how I ended up creating this. Adhered one of those wood chipboards, the wood veneer, wood veneer stars, and added a little Tim Holtz acrylic, or that's a mirror star. And then on the back side, I've already done a couple things as well. Oh, I have a frame out of just pattern paper, some vellum of one of the woodland prints. This is in black. And then I punched out a circle from, let me see if I can find this here really quick for you guys. This is from the Circles scrapbook kit, if I remember right. And that was that last year? I think that was last year. I'm not sure where I tucked that to. But if the physical is still available, I'll link that for you guys. Or here, I'll show you guys. I know where it's at. I'll link the digital. So I cut out one of the circles from this using my 4-inch punch and just adhered it down. So my plan is to then add my journaling as well. And again, I did this in Photoshop, printed it out on my laser printer, and ran this through the Make. And then the photo I'm planning to pair this with today, this is a photo of myself. I've taken lots of selfies with my camera over the years. I've also edited similar by including a photo or something, or words or an embellishment where my actual lens of my camera is. Thought this would be a great time to do that with a photo I took of Ben and Henry sitting around the tree. And yeah, I loved how that one came out. Now, I did print this out a couple different ways. You can see here. One is just simple black and white, but I felt like it needed a little something more. So I used the digital paper, pattern paper that was from last year's release, to do an overlay. And I brushed off some of the words from myself, my hands, you know, so that way it looks like it was tucked behind me. Now this, I think, is the word art is like a 50% opacity on this one, and here is 100%. And I think I'm going to go with the one that's, 100%, because it's still not, just because of the wall that this was taking again, it's still, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It gives a little bit more contrast with it being at 100%. So all I have left to do here is just trim this photo and punch the holes and then add this circle. So I'm going to jump in here and get... Okay, so you guys saw this was super, super quick and easy. I do have to give a huge kudos, shout out to Allie. She may be really onto something for having foundation pages done. If you guys have followed me in the past, I'm normally not team foundation pages, but for instance, this came together so quick by already having some of the elements or design decisions already done. So then I could just come in, add my photo, add my story, and that's it. I didn't have to think about it. It was just a lot faster. One thing I do want to show you guys, and I will share my journaling here in just a second. I printed this off just on my regular printer and to create a little template for myself. I tried to do a little bit of overlap between those two circles. So again, this is using the digital main kit. And that way I could make sure not only were these centered on the page, but that they lined up, they were perfectly horizontal, just how I had wanted them to see. So sometimes you can see there's a huge benefit, at least I find, in using the digitals, especially as a guide. Now, one thing I will mention too here is I purposely moved my photo or did a crop where my head and my camera were covered up. So that way it was just a little peekaboo there. And then when you flip it over, you can see. I love that this photo has a little bit of red and it ties into the other red here. Definitely a lot of red and black and white and gold this year. And I'm loving it. That really feels like classic Christmas to me. Green does as well. And I have some green throughout here. So I'll share my story really quick with you today. Today was a typical average day. Ben and I both worked in the morning, me on December daily and him Zoom meetings. I chatted with Crystal via FaceTime in the afternoon and took Henry to the park for playtime. After Ben finished his workday, the three of us hopped in the car to run errands, stopping at the post office for international stamps for our Christmas cards, Whole Foods for returns and a few groceries, and the pharmacy for my prescriptions. In the evening, I sorted through old photos to scan and send to Sissy. After our charcuterie dinner, I grabbed my camera to capture a few moments. I love seeing my people through the lens and the bond these two share. I'm thankful for the mundane, everyday moments and stories. So, super short, gives a little bit of highlight of the day. That's what I felt like was good for day 8. You can see sometimes I have a little bit longer journaling and, you know, even like here. And then I also have shorter journaling. I think that, at least for me in this album, there's a place for them both. So that's a wrap on my story 8. Now, I will not be here tomorrow. We have a few family things going on. And also, I will not be sharing a process video for my story 9. You guys will be able to see a sneak peek of it on my Instagram. And I will explain a little bit more why when that comes around. But I will be back then with my story 10 in just a couple days. And then I will also even give you guys a sneak or a look at how story 9 comes together. My plan is to be using this pattern paper that has the repeat pattern of joy, and it's outlined in gold. Have any questions? Let me know in the comments below. And I hope you guys enjoy your December day. Take care.